Hey, what's up? This video that you're about to watch is me reacting to Greece winning the 2004 UEFA Euros. At the end of the video, I kind of had a little bit of a rant of some of my thoughts and opinions over what I just reacted to. So stay tuned to the end of the video, please, because I think we're going to have a great discussion down in the comment section, just based on the reaction of football fans to the Greek run in 2004. Anyway, I reacted to a video by Football Iconic. I think you're going to enjoy that. Let's get into the video.
Despite all that I've previously said, many were still unconvinced of Greece's chances. They were labelled as the second least likely to win the whole thing with odds of 150 to 1. And to be fair, even the Greeks didn't think they stood much.
So they were outsiders who had never won a match at a major tournament, right? So that's something that he broke down earlier on in the video, that these guys had never won a major tournament or won a match at a major tournament. They went to the World Cup in 1994, and there was another major tournament that they had made, but I can't remember exactly which one it was. But the point being that they had never won a match at either of these major tournaments.
Of a chance. Going into the tournament, they were just happy to be involved. Their number one goal was simply to win one match. Just one. However, this was going to prove to be tougher than they might have thought. Unfortunately, they were placed in a very tough group. Spain, Portugal, Russia. And if that wasn't enough, Greece was tasked with taking center stage in the very first match of the tournament against the hosts themselves, Portugal. But let's be real here. Portugal were the hosts, they had some serious firepower in their ranks, and remember, Greece had never won even a single match in a major tournament up to this point. Pretty much everything was in the hosts' favor. So what we saying? Easy dub for the Portuguese, right? While you would definitely be in the majority if this was your prediction, the Greeks had other ideas. After scoring twice, Portugal failed to find a way back, with the match ending 2-1 in favor of Greece. And just like that, history was made. A tournament upset right off the bat. And even further to that, Greece had achieved their goal.
I mean, tournament upsets are normal though. So you would really, even in this point, you would have no reason to really still think something's going to go, that Greece is actually going to do anything. I remember in the World Cup, just this last World Cup, Argentina lose their first match of their group stage. And really, then they go on to win the tournament. So, losing a match right here, people aren't freaking out that that a tournament upset happens, so.
Match in a major tournament. Job done. Time to pack up and head home, right? Wrong. The night of this historic victory, it's been reported that nobody from the Greek national team slept even a wink. Their bodies still in shock while they listened to a Greek national radio station, hearing how they'd been received back home.
Wow.
This was only the beginning. They followed this match up with yet another upset, drawing against Spain, one of the tournament favorites, the next time they took to the pitch, and in the final match of the group stages, they lost to Russia. This meant that a draw in Spain and Portugal's last match would be enough to send Greece back home. Coincidentally, luck was on their side. Portugal scored a winner that made them the eventual group winners, and Greece managed to sneak into the quarterfinals by the closest of margins. They beat Spain to second place, not on goal difference, but due to the fact that they'd scored more goals, period. Although this was a cause for celebration, all joy was surely lost when they realized who they would be playing in the quarterfinals. The current holders, France. Zidane, Henry, Lizarazu, Makale.
Wow, that's a stacked French team. Zidane and Henry, those are the names that I immediately recognize, and those are some legends.
Yeah, that France. A very tall task indeed. What followed next was a statement. Nothing more, nothing less. With a game plan that focused more or less on marking Thierry Henry out the game, Greece ended up with a 1-0 victory with Charisteia scoring in the 65th minute. If ever there was a moment to start believing in miracles, now was that moment.
With the header.
Although, at this point, Greece had done very little to win the hearts of, well, just about everyone other than those of Greek descent. The opposition fans weren't impressed, neutrals weren't impressed, very few people were impressed. Their mostly negative defensive playstyle was undoubtedly causing a bit of a stir. Over the course of the tournament, in one of Greece's match reports, The Guardian even referred to them as the only underdogs in history who everyone wanted to see get beaten. Ouch. In contrast, their semi-final opponents were renowned as probably the most positive team in the tournament, a Czech Republic side headed up by Pavel Nedved, Milan Baroš and Jan Koller, a team that had gone through the Netherlands and Germany in the group stages and then Denmark in the quarterfinals. All the same, Greece stood firm. The match went into extra time goalless, and Traianos Delas scored the only goal of the game just before the end of the first half of extra time. Interestingly enough, This goal was more significant than you might think. This goal
Another
represented
header.
essentially the only scenario where the silver goal ruling was used.
Okay.
An alternative to the golden goal
remember the
ruling,
silver
where the
goal.
first goal scored in extra time ends the game and awards the victory to the winning team immediately. In the silver goal ruling, if a team scores a goal in extra time and it's the only goal scored in that specific half of extra time, then the game is
It's in that
concluded
half.
at the end of that half. This was essentially a more lenient version of the golden goal rule that gave teams a bit more of a chance to make a comeback. However, the goal scored by Greece was scored at the very end of the first half of extra
So
time.
it's essentially a golden
the
goal.
Czech Republic had close to zero chance to make it.
Right, so it's essentially a golden goal because they scored that goal towards the end of the half, and since it's more lenient, at the end of that half is when it. So it's essentially just a golden goal.
Comeback after this, as the match ended a few seconds after the Delas goal. I'm not sure if you guys recall me uttering the word miracle earlier on. At this point in time, if you're one of those Greek players, it's incredibly difficult to feel as though this isn't some sort of manifestation of destiny. The stars had aligned, and whatever black magic they'd been practicing had surely been doing the trick. All that was left was for them to go out there and finish the job. But one last opponent stood in the way.
Ooh,
As fate
Portugal.
would have it, this
With
opponent was
Ronaldo.
rather familiar. A revitalized Portugal team had made it to the finals of the competition held in their very own country. In a lot of ways, their story up to this point reflected one with a few fairy tale aspects too. After losing their opening match to one of the overwhelming underdogs, they topped their group, battled their way through an English golden generation, then Netherlands, and looked to be in perfect position to not only win the whole thing, but exact revenge on the team that gave them such a large initial shock. And when the match started, the front four of Figo, Ronaldo, Deco, and Pauleta went to work at doing just that, piling on the pressure and looking dangerous whenever they ventured forward. But I guess no one gave Angelos Charisteas the memo. Despite the odds being in Portugal's favour, Charisteas scored what was essentially a trademark 2004 European Championship Greek goal in the 57th minute. Across from the right, the header past the keeper.
It's always the
In
header.
this tournament alone, we'd seen Greece score that goal several times over. Greece held on, and the rest is history. Perhaps the biggest underdog story in the history of European football had been completed.
Wow.
Understandably, in the aftermath of this victory, many people were less than pleased. The Telegraph even stated in the
tournament
wake of this
nobody
upset
loved.
that
Wow.
a tear flowed down the face of the beautiful game. Now, that's a bit dramatic, but they definitely weren't alone in feeling this way.
Come on, guys. I wasn't there to watch it, so I don't know why. But this is an inspiring story. A country that, has played in 3 major tournaments, wins this one against that team, and nobody's happy about it.
And perhaps they were justified in doing so. Greece didn't produce the eye-catching, glittering football that neutrals and diehards have come to appreciate from knockout football. They defended relentlessly and still hold the record for champions with the lowest amount of goals scored per match. Although, if you have any association with Greece whatsoever, I'm fairly certain you couldn't care less. But
I
even further to
appreciate
that,
this so
one of
much.
the main fears from the tournament was that if Greece showed that playing this way could result in a positive outcome, what would stop others from doing the same in future in an attempt to reproduce these results? I guess the obvious answer to this question is, well, nothing. And I hate answering a question with a question, but the even more obvious answer to this question is, if it's that easy, why don't we see more teams doing this? Moreover, why haven't more teams reached the height that this Greece team did? And the answer to that is obvious. Simply put, this team was special. The players, the manager, the unity, this was the perfect combination to go out and achieve greatness. In his book, Zonal Marking, Michael Cox refers to Greece's performance in this tournament as the tactical achievements of the decade. England, Portugal, Sweden, the Czech Republic, all nations who brought quintessential golden generations with them to Portugal. However, at the end of the day, Greece stood above them all. The tactical prowess of their head coach and the undying resolve of their players as well as the backroom staff led to Greece pulling off what is quite possibly the biggest upset in football history. And there we have it.
Wow. All right. So I'm a little shocked at the reaction to Greece winning this Euros. It seems like people are really upset that the game that Greece played wasn't as beautiful as the other nations that played. And to me, what could be more beautiful than ferocity on the defensive side, tactical genius by a manager, and a team that's only competed in 3 tournaments, or 3 major tournaments, winning against against Spain, against Portugal, against all these major, beating the French team, like to overcome what they overcame to win that tournament, and the response to that being it just wasn't beautiful. A tear flowed down the face of the beautiful game. To me, that just smacks of like arrogance. What could be more beautiful than the storyline of Greece winning the Euros? Just because it wasn't as pretty a game. I don't know. I find defense to be extremely pretty. I find good coaching and good tactics to be extremely beautiful. And so, and the fact that this was a unification for this team, like the Greek team just a few years before this, were in disarray. That's something that he covers in the beginning of that video, that they were just in disarray years before this tournament. And yet they come together and they put aside differences, because you talk about the Greek football culture at that time is very club identity oriented, and they really, fans and players really took on the identity of their club. And so they bring in a manager who tells this squad that like the national team needs to come first. National team needs to take more precedence and more importance over these club identities. And so I think that I'm just venting a lot of these thoughts out of here. To see the response to this, to me, is crazy. I think this is one of the most inspirational sports stories I think I've ever reacted to. And so it's kind of odd to me that football fans would be so against that tournament. I didn't watch the tournament. Maybe if I was, a big football fan at that time and I was watching the tournament, maybe I would have had a similar approach to it. Like, man, I just wish we had some better football on the pitch. But from someone who's coming at this for the first time, this is an inspirational story. The fact that they came in and beat Portugal in Portugal to win the Euros in 2004. Amazing story. I don't know. I've ranted here at the end. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think, because, these are my thoughts on it. I'll see you guys in the next video.